You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the July 21st, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with a presentation by Garth Holder, Senior Civil Technologist with GemTech Engineering, on a coastal study for the Market Wharf and Market Square refurbishment project. Under Finance and Administration, Councillor Heenan will move that Council confirms the strategic priorities for the remainder of their term as the Wharf Refurbishment Project, the MBCC Housing Project, the Municipal Plan and Zoning Bylaw, and the shared allocation of costs between wards. Councillor Heenan will also move that Council approves the proposed meeting schedule for July and August of 2025. Additionally, Councillor Heenan will move that Council accepts the resignation of Paul Knopper as Clerk and Senior Administrator and establishes an ad hoc hiring committee for the position. Under Public Works and Public Safety, Councillors Bennett and Neal will move that Council awards a tender for asphalt resurfacing to Galbraith Construction. Councillors Bennett and Neal will also move that Council retains the 2001 Freightliner fire truck to be used as a support vehicle for water shuttling services. Finally, Councillors Bennett and Neal will move that Council approves the allocation of $20,000 from the Tourism Accommodation Levy Fund to support the partnership with Waterfront St. Andrews for buying 52 water-filled road barricades for special events. Under Economic Development, Business and Culture, Councillor Weir will move that Council authorizes the Chief Administrative Officer to start negotiations with the St. Andrews Civic Trust regarding the transfer of the courthouse, jail, and commons. Under Recreation and Environment, Councillors Gumashell and Blanchard will move that Council accepts the resignation of Mark Howell from the Trail Advisory Committee. Councillors Gumashell and Blanchard will also move that Council supports the St. Andrews Food Forest with $5,000 for garden supplies. Finally, under Planning and Community Development, Councillor Harlan will move that Council sets a date of Monday, August 18th at 6 p.m. for a public presentation on the Municipal Plan and Zoning Bylaw. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
Okay, we'll call together our Town of St. Andrews regular council meeting for Monday, July 21st, 2025 at 6:40 p.m. at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers. So the first thing is the recording of attendance. Absent is Acting Deputy Mayor Neal, who's away, and Councillor Harlan and Councillor Bennett are online, and everybody else is here, correct? So thank you for coming. We recognize and we welcome everyone here that we are on the unceded territory of the traditional Beskoto-Makati people. The approval of the agenda, as done, I need a mover and a seconder. Mover, Councillor Heenan, seconder, Councillor Blanchard. Question, all those in favor? Aye, carried. All right. Disclosure. Aye, I got an eye behind me. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Anybody have a conflict of interest tonight? Okay, seeing none, there is none. A presentation is next online, and we have Garth Holder, Senior Civil Technologist, GemTech Engineering, Coastal Study for St. Andrews Market Wharf and Square. So if you'd like to come to the podium and give us your presentation, we appreciate you coming down and doing this. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does this push? Now it's on? Does it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this study. My colleague Xinyang Yang, who is the co-author of this report, is away on vacation in Paris. And although I think I'm the lucky one to be able to come to St. Andrews and do the presentation because it's nice down here. I work with Gymtech Limited. It's a New Brunswick firm which has a water resource branch, which has a coastal engineering section, and myself, I work in the structural branch, which includes a marine structures branch as well. So the two of us will get together for these coastal processes and provide the reports for various communities and wharves on this coast, and as well as in the other coast of New Brunswick on the Northumberland Strait and Gulf of St. Lawrence. So Gymtech Consulting Engineers were engaged by the town of St. Andrews to carry out the coastal study to support the design work for the town of St. Andrews. And I have to thank Chris for following along here. We have not rehearsed this, so it's so it's going to be, it could be a little bit unrehearsed, I guess. So to complete the study, Gymtech created what we call a hydrodynamic model, coastal model of the wharf area. We would simulate the waves and the currents in the project area, and from which we can get the sediment transport of the material. We do a prediction of the wave climate at the wharf and potential flooding, and we consider the tidal surges and sea level rise as well. We will do an assessment of the potential shoreline changes, specifically erosion and accretion around the infill area, and as well as we would evaluate the water exchange rates on either side of the infill area. And I'd like to point out that this study that we do is only a coastal study. It's not a full EIA or an environmental study. The fish and fish habitat loss has already been identified by Department of Fisheries and Oceans and mitigated. And the impacts to navigation have been submitted to Transport Canada underneath the navigation protection plans. The infill area that we're looking at is about 4,500 square meters, and that did not trigger the provincial EIA. So I was going to ask Chris to bring up a sketch of the wharf on page 1, I guess, past the summary, so that everybody's familiar with the drawing of the wharf infill area. No, keep on going, I think. There it is. Okay, so that's the proposed area. It's a plan that was put together by CBCL Engineering. They have brought the infill area about 80 meters out from the existing shoreline and taken it about 50 or 60 meters on either side of the Market Wharf approach. So in order to carry out a model study on the Passamaquoddy Bay and the work site here, we use what we call a numeric coastal model. In this case, we use a DHI model. It's very commonly used by the other engineering firms in Atlantic Canada and by the National Research Council. They have several modules that they can follow. The MIKE 21 software, and I guess we call it the Mike 21 software. There's different modules that will help us evaluate and various aspects of the coastal. The SW will simulate the waves. The HD will do the hydrodynamic modeling, and the ST will do the sediment transport. So as we go through the report here, we'll be able to see how those roll out. So you can go down to the section 2.0. We'll go through a couple of photographs, and then 2.0 is the accumulation of data. So in a numeric model, the most important thing is to collect the valuable data that's available to conduct the model. To do that, we pick up the bathymetry from the Canadian Hydrographic Services, the tide and extreme water level is picked up from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans tide stations that are here in St. Andrews. The extreme water levels and the tidal surges are picked up from the St. John station, because it's a real-time sensitive tidal station there, and the various astronomical and the meteorological high waters are calculated and tabulated and put into the model. So, Chris, I'm pretty much on page 5 now. So we can scroll down. Oh, we passed the windrows. Oh, go up a bit. There. So, yeah, it's got maybe page down would help. There we go. So I'm going to show you what a windrose is, and this is very common in coastal modeling. We use the offshore wind and wave, and it's called a windrose. The petals that we see on the so-called rose, the longer the petal is the typical winds that will blow in the research area, and the colors on the side indicate the strength of the winds. So it happens that in the St. Andrews, in the area of this windrose, or in this part of the Bay of Fundy, where this windrose is taken from, is that the predominant winds are coming from the southwest, but the stronger winds come from the northeast and from the southeast. In the case of St. Andrews, the winds from the northeast have little consequences because they're from the land going onto the water. However, and from the southwest, there's little consequences as well because they are blocked by Navy Island. In this case, we find the most damaging winds that could occur in the St. Andrews area are actually coming from the southeast. And when they do blow, they blow at a significant speed. However, the arrangement of the islands, as well as the sandbars that are there, allow for not too much of the waves, the offshore wave, to come in. There is a table there for wind direction and speed, and we see from the southeast that it is an extreme wind parameters would be 82 kilometers per hour. So we can go down to 2.4. And we'll look at the sea bottom conditions at the wharf. And of course, it's easy to collect the samples and see what's on the sea bottom at St. Andrews because the tide departs twice a day and exposes the sea bottom. The sea bottom was observed at low tide, noted that there were small patches of sand, mostly gravel, mostly rock, and some seaweed patches. So that's part of the data collection that we go into. And then the engineer will start his model, putting the model together. So on 3.0, if you go on down a couple more pages, there we go. So the model is put together, and that is the bathymetry of the bay and the lower parts of the St. Croix River, and it is it's a deep bay that's well protected from the offshore, and our coastal engineer was able to predict that the impacts from the offshore waves very rarely or cannot come into the bay to offset. So the only thing that's going to be affecting the wave generation is what we'd be calling a wind-generated wave. So if we go down to the next item, And this is what we call a refined mesh system. The DIH software works on a mesh system where we are able to put in define a mesh around the study area. The finer the mesh, the more detail that we can get out of it. And so this is the image of the mesh that was created for this particular study. The numeric softwares are very complex. They will calculate what used to be long-handed, very complex calculations to calculate waves and heights and dissipation of the wave. And these things have been crunched down into the software and is able to give us the valid results. So the wave model is shown here, and it shows the Navy Island, which is the dark green area, and it's kind of hard to see the wharf, but it is in the blue area. The waves in the Bay of Fundy cannot penetrate through the sandbars and the entrances, and so therefore we get a wind-generated wave that's predicted at to be about a 0.5 meter wave on a 100-year storm. And this is the wave that is generated from that south-southeast direction. So interestingly enough, if you go down to the next page, interesting enough is that the wharf actually splits the wave direction. So on the left is the west side of the wharf, and on the right is the east side of the wharf. Because the position of Navy Island, the waves will come around, and they predominantly will be in that direction from two different directions, meeting at the wharf. Again, the wave rose is showing the predominant waves and the heights. The other thing that we can get from the bathymetry and the waves is the tidal flow. And so if we can go down to the next couple of pages, we can see the generated tidal flow. This is an overhead view. It's hard to see the directions of the arrows in that one, but I believe that the next page can show the tidal flow of the tidal flow on the rising tide based on the existing layout that we have, plus the layout with the infill. It shows that there's currents at the end of the Market Wharf where you see the darker, more concentrated arrows. And I can see on my page here, but the arrows for the current are mostly pointing towards the shoreline from halfways along the approach. They mostly go towards the shoreline, which is typically on a rising tide. So that's so the next component that we looked at was the water exchange, and this was an interesting one. And to assess the water to assess the water exchange, the engineer introduced a pollutant into the water for let's say that they put in 100% red stain into the water, and the idea behind that is how many tide cycles does it take to clear out the red dye or the red stain. So this is the study area that they introduced the pollutant. And over the next couple of images here, Chris, we can see that the exchange rate is very efficient in the Bay Area here, and that that's the 3 tide cycle with the existing shoreline. And if you go to the next image, that is the concentration after 5 cycles, where it's down to a 0.5%. So after 5 tides, the 100% red dye that was put into that area has completely dispersed down to 0.05. The next 2 images, the one with the yellow, had the infill area imposed. It did show a slight delay on the 3rd tide cycle, that some of the orange color is still remaining. And if you go down to the next slide down, that is the 5 tide cycle, where it pretty much meets the existing conditions. And the reason I kind of questioned this particular method was that we know that in the study area, where the infill area is that on every tide, the water completely disappears. So while this particular output of the model may show some delay in the circulation of water around the infill, our personal experience indicates that the water completely disappears from around the study area at every tide. So there would not be an opportunity for any water to linger around the infill area. If we go down to section 4.4, we talk about sediment transport. Sediment transport needs 2 things. It needs to have sediment, and it needs to have a current. And we can stop there. The model output on the top image with the existing conditions showed that the sediment transportation, if there was sediment, I should say that our engineer introduced into the model a 20 centimeter layer of sand on the bottom of the seabed in order to produce a sediment transport. We observed on the sea bottom that there was not that many pockets of sand, so this is an artificial type of just showing the beach formation. So we show that the on one side of the wharf, the arrow is pointing towards the wharf, and on the other side it's pointing to the other. So it should, if there was sand in the area, we should have seen beaches forming on both sides of the structure. When we introduce the infill area, the model indicates that there could be some accumulation of sand in the sharp corners. And do you have a mouse capability there, I wonder? There, you can show the corner where there's a bit of a spot where there could be some accumulation of sand, but I will qualify that by saying that there could be some sand accumulating there if there was sand to accumulate. The amount of transport in the bay is very low. We estimate it in the number of cubic meters per year that can move, and it is around 200 cubic meters of material that actually can move if there was material to move. So the sediment transport that occurs in the bay around the structure is very, very low. Down to 4.4 is another scenario that was run. And on this particular scenario, they wanted to see how much erosion would occur at the structure if erosion could occur. And again, we have a lot of gravel and rock and some sand at the bottom. It shows that the infill area could suffer some erosion if it's not mitigated. CBCL mitigated that by providing a tow structure or dredging out and excavating the tow So the idea that the revetment could erode has been mitigated. On section 5, on the design calculations, our coastal engineer went and he wanted to make sure that the rock size was calculated accordingly. And because the waves are coming in there, he would pick a 250 kilogram rock. I'm just going to say that's the R25 is the New Brunswick standard. The New Brunswick Highway's standard qualifications for a rock is a 250 R250. The designers picked an R500, which is twice the size of the rock, and which is good. It's covered. The other thing was the overtopping and the crest elevations and potential flooding. In this case, we take the astronomical tides, plus we use the tidal surges that can occur on the 100-year storms, plus we introduce a sea level rise to see how high that is, plus we introduce the height of the wave. So those 4 elevations are put together to come up with a typical elevation. What we found that the sea level rise is something that is occurring, and the calculations predict that over the next 25 years, the extreme water level and the tidal surge is estimated not to exceed 4.65, and the height of the wave is 0.65 meters. So you should have a height of 5.3. The infill area is at 5.5. After 25 years, or maybe to the end of the century, you could see more flooding that could occur on the infill area and on top of the wharf. So our conclusions on this, which is section 6, is that the St. Andrews Harbor, for the most part, is protected from the offshore winds and the waves by Navy Island and the sandbars and the beaches that are formed on the 2 inlets. The waves that form are localized and are not influenced from the offshore. The infill area follows the shoreline and does not protrude far into the water. So therefore it has minimal effect on the flow patterns within the wharf. Any influence is limited to only at the high tide time and is confined to the immediate area of the work. The module that we used to assess the water exchange rate in the nearshore area indicated a slight change to the rate of the exchange. The water exchange rate for both the existing layout and the proposed infill area remain very efficient, and the efficiency is primarily attributed to the significant tidal range at the site and the complete drying out of the nearshore areas during low tide, which promotes rapid renewal in each tidal cycle. Longshore sediment transport with the proposed infill area indicates that the fine sand depositions could occur in the corners of the infill area, assuming that there was fine sand for the bed material to lay there. Because the seabed is mainly of gravel and seaweed, there's expected to be no obvious changes to the shoreline with the new configuration. The proposed expansion also does not affect the wave conditions near the existing sand beaches on either side, and so therefore it can be concluded that the new construction will have no impact on these shorelines. The beach profile indicates the potential toe erosion at the revetment based on the sand bottom. The potential revetment toe erosion has been mitigated in the design by the 600 millimeter key at the toe of the slope. And the armor stone size on the exposed side of the infill area is a 200 to 500 kilogram rock, and the proposal called for a 500 to a 1500 kilogram rock, which is oversized, but it is still efficient for the infill. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the proposed height of the new work is sufficiently high to prevent waves from overtopping and flooding within the next 25 years, and it's possible that at the end of the century, we could see some flooding of the infill area and the wharf dock. So that is the conclusions of the report that that's been prepared by Jim Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Holder, for that report. Council, do you have any questions?
Just to remind your worship that part of the reasoning for having a meeting next week to kind of take
Is we're going to do this.
the next steps is so everyone, I know there's a lot of data there that most of us in the room, except maybe for 2 or 3 people, can actually absorb in a short time. So we'll sit on it for a week or so, and if anyone has questions from the audience, whether here or virtually, you can fire them our way, and council can ask. I think Mr. Holder said he'd make himself available next week, maybe virtually, if
Yeah,
there's questions.
and it was my plan to stay here for the question
Yeah.
and answer, or the question, I can't be sure if I'm going to be able to answer them, but
Yep.
Thank
for
you
any
for
questions at the end, okay?
Thank you very much,
Good.
Mr. Holder, for a wonderful presentation. All right, council. The next is the approval of minutes of the previous meeting, and so we would like to go through them as quickly as possible. So starting with 1, the 250602 regular council meeting minutes of Monday, June 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. That these minutes of the regular council meeting on Monday be adopted. I need a mover, Councillor Heenan, and a seconder, Blanchard. All those, there were no errors or omissions. Okay, the question is, all those in favor of accepting those? Aye?
Aye.
Carried?
Aye.
Thank you, carried. I forget about those two. The second one is 250616, regular council meeting minutes of Monday, June 16th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. I need a mover. Councillor Blanchard, I can't see their hands. Blanchard, and a seconder.
Councillor Harlan's got her
Councillor-
hand up.
Oh, Councillor Harlan?
Oh.
Thank you. She does have her hand up. Question, ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you, carried.
Councillor Harlan, can you lower your hand so next time it pops up, we'll know it wasn't left over?
She's working on it. Okay, the next item is communications.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Just give me a second till I get to the page. Okay, communications is from the Prostate Cancer Foundation Shine a Light campaign. Request to light up Town Hall on September. So the recommended motion is this, that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the week of September 8th to the 12th, 2025, to light Town Hall in blue for Prostate Cancer Awareness Month on behalf of the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Canada. Any discussion? No. Okay, all those in, oh, I need a mover, sorry. Mover, Councillor Gumashell. Seconder, Councillor Blanchard. Question, all those in favor of doing the light up the town of St. Andrews for the week of September 8th to the 12th? Aye.
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 Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you, council. So the next thing is the Explore report, the Explore St. Andrews. The report for June, July is in your council package, councilors. So we don't need to do anything for that, Mr. Spear? No, okay. Yes?
I would just like to say we appreciate the effort in putting the report together. Thank you.
It was.
It is nice that they did that for us. And they will continue to do it. Now, Mr. Spear, your report is next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. Happy summer to all. After a dreary spring, the weather changed dramatically as we have been in a couple of heat waves. The number of tours compared to prior years seems to have increased dramatically from the numbers of people and automobiles I see on Water Street. The following is a summary of the ongoing initiatives of Council and staff. Earlier this evening, we received a presentation from Gemtech Consulting Engineers and Scientists Limited, who carried out a coastal study on the design work related to the potential wharf project. The plan is for Council to mull over it for a few days, and we will reconvene on Tuesday, July 29th, for a special meeting to consider moving forward with the project. With this meeting so late in the month, staff proposed we postpone the August meeting to a bit later in the month. If anything urgent comes up before August 18th, we can call a special meeting to deal with the issue. For several years, we've been trying to determine the best use and management of the Charlotte County Courthouse, a National Historic Site and a tremendous asset to the town. Acquired by St. Andrews in 2018, Council and staff have struggled with getting a plan in place to best utilize this asset. St. Andrews Civic Trust, dedicated to the preservation of the architectural heritage and cultural landscape of the town, stepped up and presented a well-thought-out plan. After issuing an expression of interest to allow other stakeholders to make proposals, Civic Trust concept is perceived by staff to be the best option. Council should review the plan again and determine if you have any concerns about all the concepts, but a motion is before you to begin transferring the asset to them. On the agenda tonight is an item to approve paving work along Cemetery Road as well as widening Prince of Wales from King Street to just before the exercise park, with some of the funding coming from the Canada Active Transportation Fund. We are postponing the work until after Labor Day to minimize the overall impact of the construction. This past Friday, our clerk senior administrator position became vacant when Paul Knopper's resignation became effective as he moved into the Chief Administrative Officer role in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. He has been a key team member for his 5+ years, and we wish him well. As part of the process, Council needs to accept his resignation. To fill the vacancy, we hired a human resource consultant to nationally advertise the position, and it has been active for a couple of weeks. There's also a motion before Council to form an ad hoc hiring committee to work with the consultant and myself in the interview process, which will make a recommendation to Council on the preferred candidate. Our planners are close to having the final draft of the municipal plan and its zoning bylaw ready for Council review and approval to begin the process formally. This will involve an extended public presentation, community consultation meetings, a hearing of objections, views of PAC, and the 3 readings. Because of its importance, the process is intense, but we have gone through it with Council, and hopefully their perspective matches those of their constituents. Administration. An important issue that has risen in the board of the Van Hoord Estate Administrators Island has given notice to the province that they'll need to cease operations after this year if a new funding model is not struck up. They have been working hard for many years to address financial viability, but despite enormous investments in capital, they are still struggling to cover operational costs. A stakeholder group from the town, including the mayor, is working together to elevate the concerns to a community level. In addition to losing Mr. Knopper, our senior administrative assistant, Nancy Cooper, was able to retire at the end of June. Our receptionist, Carol Locke, soon to be DeWitt, has moved into that position, and we're actively recruiting to fill her position, which has been advertised for a few weeks, and we will be doing interviews shortly. The mayor and staff met with representatives from the Department of the Environment to discuss Shamcook Lake, to review the dam structure that is currently there, and to have a holistic review of our watershed, and to make plans moving into the future. Although the town operates the water treatment and distribution systems, the province is the overall regulator who has qualified staff and consultants available to do this type of study. It will be an ongoing initiative over several months and will include consultation with landowners around the lake. Despite summer just arriving, Budget time is fast approaching. Staff will be working on the early drafts over the next several weeks and reflecting on what consultations can look like. We will bring an initial draft to Council in September. With the provincial assessment freeze announced earlier this year, plus adjustments to the equalization grant formulas, this year will be more challenging than others. Canada Day was an overwhelming success this year, despite the fog postponing the night activities. With an official count near impossible to do, most people I talked to mentioned it just felt busier, with the parade crowd being 7 to 10 people deep in some areas. Recreation staff have done a fantastic job in creating more activities, and some accommodation providers indicated gifts came for the weekend and stayed through. Staff will do a debrief, and consideration should be given to a shuttle service in the future to reduce parking congestion in the downtown. The missed evening events have been mostly moved to the New Brunswick Day long weekend. Under services, early in the spring, Public Works worked with our contractor to replace a deteriorated asphalt sidewalk on Frederick Street with a concrete one, stretching from Carlton Street to Joey's Independent. This addition has made the streetscape look better and has provided a much safer walking surface. The cultural department staff, who looked after the museums and blockhouse, came up with a new self-guided tour for visitors, Law and Order in Colonial St. Andrews. The initial run of 1,000 postcards have been nearly used up and is helping guide visitors to all the attractions as opposed to stumbling upon 2 or 3 of them, which would be the courthouse, Sheriff Andrews, the Ross Museum, and the jail. Compared to 2024, the visitors to our sites are up 38%. The planners noted that the value of year-to-date construction is $13 million. While it sounds like a lot, it only represents less than 2% of our assessment base. While we are glad to have that, it'll have a minimal impact due to the assessment freeze discussed earlier. In conclusion, with the loss of staff and eventual orientation of new staff, please expect replies and inquiries to take a bit longer. That said, we will review everything that comes in and prioritize those that are urgent. Several people have offered to help in any way they can, which is appreciated. The New Brunswick Day long weekend should be busy as the town and Kira are co-promoting events to encourage residents to get out and for visitors to come to return to us. There will be lots going on, including an outdoor movie, music, and the missed Canada Day fireworks. Please plan to attend. We'll be looking for more input from the community over the next several months as we finalize the Recreation Master Plan, plus the municipal plan and the zoning bylaw. We will put out notices through the usual channels to address this. Respectfully submitted, Chris Spear, CAO Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Spear, for a great report. A lot of things happening in St. Andrews, and I did find Canada to be extremely busy, more so than it has been over the past few years. So we need to accept the staff reports, so I need a mover again. Councillor Blanchard and a seconder. Councillor Heenan. Thank you. So, ready for the question? All those in favor of accepting the reports? Aye? Contrary?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you,
Your
Councillor.
Worship,
Yes?
Just as a discussion point with regard to the staff reports.
Yes?
We didn't do any discussion, so just briefly, I wanted to thank Mr. Henderson for giving us a much larger copy of all of the building permits and things. I appreciated that. With regard to some of the developments, though, there aren't addresses. I know they're looking to subdivide lots and stuff, like out in Bayview Boulevard, but we don't have addresses or anything to be able to go and have a look and see what's being subdivided and whatnot. So I did appreciate the larger font on the report, but would appreciate a little bit more
Information?
a little bit better directions to be able to locate things on the map. Thank you, Your Worship.
So noted.
Your Worship, Councillor Gumish, I'll understand, but we had to drop some things to make the font bigger.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, maybe we can direct. That's the trade-off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we'll be glad to give you addresses or even a map of the locations any request you have, and I'll talk to them to
And
see.
the pages didn't all match up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gumshoe. Thank you, Mr. Spear. So moving right along, we are now into the introduction and consideration and passing of bylaws in motion. And the first one is the Finance and Administration Committee. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Good evening. The first one is FA 250725, Council Strategic Priorities for the Remainder of Our Term. Staff have led a process using a strategic matrix with the Council to determine their priorities for the remainder of their term. With the next municipal election taking place on May the 11th, 2026, the priorities are the main initiatives they would like to complete before then. Council has determined the following. 1. Wharf refurbishment. 2. NBCC housing project. 3. Municipal plan and zoning bylaw. 4. Shared allocation of costs between wards. Council should formally motion these priorities to give direction to staff. So the motion, Your Worship, is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews confirm the strategic priorities for the remainder of their term as following. 1. Wharf refurbishment. 2. NB housing project. 3. Municipal plan and zoning bylaw. 4. Shared allocation of costs between the wards, and I, Your Worship, so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder. Oh, they've gone off the screen.
I know, I'll fix that after you get this.
Sorry. Councillor Gumshoe? Seconder?
That's the second.
Yes, I second it.
Thank you very much. All right, further discussion? Yes, Councillor Ware?
Yes, there's one other item that I guess I've brought up a couple times, just as a minor item, but as we approach...
Recording stopped.
Oops, hold on for a minute, please.
As we approach the end of our term,
Recording in progress.
I think it would be beneficial if we could get some good documentation in place on the wellness center. There's a couple of small leases which we approved just recently. Other than that, I understand most of it is verbal agreements. We have a facility that I think cost $1.5 million, and we really don't have any formal contracts under which we're operating. And I think we would not be diligent in our duty to pass this along to another council with just verbal type agreements in place. And it was maybe 2000 prior to us being on council, but 2021 perhaps it went in place, and here it is 2025. We still don't have any legal documentation, so I think it's something that council should have on their radar and should be looking at. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Council? Councillor Bennett?
Sorry, I jumped in.
Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and staff and fellow councillors. I guess I'd like to acknowledge what Councillor Weir just said, and I fully support that initiative. I do see that, with the number of people that enter that facility every day, both staff and patients alike, we'd be in a liable situation without firm contracts in place explaining everybody's rights and responsibilities. I think that's a key thing, a key point that Councillor Weir brings up, and it puts us in a bad position not having something formally recognized that we can say that we've done our due diligence, and a measure that we can expect from the the users of that facility as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Gomichel, you had?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to interject that we have 4 strategic priorities, and a 5th perhaps might be, we had a very eloquent letter from former Councillor Jeff Holmes about the parking situation downtown and the need to move to a different system of long-term parking downtown. And so hopefully that's something that we can fit into this last year of our mandate. And wanted to thank Mr. Holmes for taking the time to write in with his breadth of experience and being a longtime resident. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, but we have we have the documentation that Councillor Weir wants. Do we add that as a 5? And then Jeff Holmes a 6?
No, Your Worship, I guess it'd have to be an amendment now. If you remember, this was a process
That we went through.
So I'm not disagreeing, but it's, the point is creating the recreation, or the strategic priorities that everyone's in agreement to adding them. So they should either be added through motion tonight, or it should be tabled, and we can discuss it to see if they want to be added formally.
Okay, Councillor Heenan?
Yes, Your Worship. We did this as a strategic measure, and we did this as an exercise, thus after the equal sign were the 4 points that are mentioned here.
Correct.
I disagree in adding more because we could add 10 more. We strategically used a formula to come up with the 4, and these are the 4 that are here. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Councillor Blanchard?
Sure, I'll jump in. Those are 4 priorities, but they're not the only 4 issues we're going to discuss between now and the end of our term. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the priorities as we've discussed previously, but we'll have plenty of opportunity to bring forward more issues. So I just wanted to make that point.
Okay. So, all right.
Yeah.
We do have enough meetings to do this in. So, with that being said, we will keep those and others that may come up.
So our options now are,
But
you
we
can
want to keep
pass
the
this
main
as,
4.
or someone can make a motion to add those. I'm just
Okay.
putting it there on the table. Or as Councillor Blanchard said, this is just to give us overall focus, but I don't have budget there, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do a budget between now and Christmas, so.
That's right. So, do we need the motion, or they're there for us to add at a later date? Council? I'm fine with it, yeah, well, I can't say, sorry. It's up to you,
So,
Council.
But we can make note of Councillor Gomichel and Councillor Weirs, and certainly put that on our registers and discuss them as part of our ongoing discussions.
Thank you, Council, and Mr. Spear. So, what we want to do is vote on what we have here, the wharf refurbishment, NBCC housing project, municipal plan and zoning bylaw, and the shared allocation of costs between wards. So, need to vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Number 2.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. FA 250726, Council meeting schedule for July and August of 2025. With recent staff changes and vacations taking place, staff are recommending the following meeting schedule of council for the remainder of July and August as it relates to regular council meeting and special council meeting. Note that this does not include meetings to be set up for the draft zoning bylaw and municipal plan process. Additionally, in July and August, as per bylaw, there is only one regular council meeting supposed to be scheduled for the month of July and August. So what we're having is Monday, July the 21st, 2025, that's today. Tuesday, July 29th, 2025, special council meeting on the wharf, and remember it's Tuesday. Tuesday, August the 5th, 2025, we will be canceling the regular council meeting. And Monday, August the 18th, 2025, will be regular council meeting. The meeting schedule will return to the first and third Monday of each month for the regular council meetings in September. Your worship, the motion is that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves the proposed meeting schedule for July and August of 2025. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder? Yeah, Councillor Gumashell, beat you by just a hair. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Your worship.
Aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, Your worship, the next one is FA 250728, resignation of Mr. Paul Knopper, Clerk Senior Administrator for the town of St. Andrews. On June the 20th, 2025, Mr. Paul Knopper, Clerk Senior Administrator for the town of St. Andrews, submitted his resignation for the position. Mr. Knopper has accepted a role as Chief Administrative Officer for the town of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. We would like to thank Mr. Knopper for his service to our community and wish him all the best in his new role. His final day with the town was Friday, July the 18th, 2025. As part of the process, council must formally accept the resignation by motion. And the motion is that the council of the town of St. Andrews accepts the resignation of Paul Knopper, Clerk Senior Administration for the town of St. Andrews as of Friday, July the 18th, 2025. I so move this, Your worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder? Councillor Blanchard? Any further discussion? Mr. Spear, sorry.
No, it's okay. For those that may not know, I'm actually already been appointed the deputy clerk, so I'll be filling those legislative roles between now and when somebody else is here.
Okay, thank you. It is with great regret that we are losing
Yes.
Mr. Knopper, but we will be doing interviews shortly and hopefully be able to fill those big shoes. Question, all those in favor of accepting the resignation, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried.
The next one is reference number FA 250727, Ad Hoc Hiring Committee for Clerk Senior Administrator position. With the Clerk Senior Administrator position posted because of the recent resignation of Mr. Paul Knopper, the town needs to establish an ad hoc hiring committee of council and staff. The town has hired a Practical HR Solutions to help facilitate the process and to work with the ad hoc committee. Council needs a formal motion to appoint members to the committee. If any other member of council wishes to participate, their names can be added to the motion. And the motion, Your worship, is that the council of the town of St. Andrews establishes an ad hoc hiring committee for the clerk senior administration position with the town of St. Andrews with the following members of council and staff: Deputy Mayor Kate Akagi, Councillor Steve Neal, Councillor Lee Heenan, Chris Spear, CAO/Treasurer, and Practical HR Solutions. I so move this, Your worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Any other discussion on this? I need a seconder, sorry. Councillor Gomashell, thank you. Any further discussion now? Councillor Harland?
Sorry, no, I was just trying to second it. It's fine.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Councillor Weir?
Yes, I just like to mention that I've been involved in this type of thing for 50 years, so if at any time you need someone else to sit in on a meeting of the committee, I'm available.
Thank you very much, Councillor Weir. All right, ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Carried. Gotta wait for that pause. Sorry. Okay, now we're moving on to Public Works and Public Safety Committee, Councilors Bennett and Councilors Neal. So I guess it's Councilors Bennett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. tonight before us, we have a reference number PWPS 250710. The subject is award tender 2025-07, St. Andrews Asphalt Resurfacing 2025. And the background reads, within the 2025 capital budget, Council set aside the following amounts for paving projects in 2025. Widening of Princess of Wales Street from Augustus to King for $846,000, and Cemetery Road from Diana to Cemetery Gates at $322,000, for a total of $1,168,000 even. 3 tenders were received, but one had to be rejected because it did not follow the process. The 2 remaining bids, with HST included, were Gabriel Construction and NRB Construction Company Limited. Gabriel was $647,967.50, where NRB Construction Company Limited was $861,263.75. With the HST rebate removed, the lowest bid is approximately $588,800. Staff recommend the awards go to the lowest bid, Gabriel Construction, and the motion reads.
Councillor Bennett, sorry, it's Galbraith Construction when you read the motion.
Oh, excuse me, Galbraith,
Yeah, Galbraith.
excuse me. Galbraith, thank you for correcting me. So the council, excuse me, so the motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews awards tender TSA 2025-07, St. Andrews Asphalt Resurfacing 2025 to Gabrielle Construction in the amount of $647,967.50, HST inclusive, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. We need a seconder. Councillor Heenan?
I just want to clarify, it's Galbraith Construction.
Galbraith.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Heenan.
I'll
so-
second it.
Okay, sorry. All right, any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next one, Councillor Bennett. Freight line fire truck.
Yes, once again, thanks, Deputy Mayor. The next reference number is PWPS 250714. The subject, retaining of St. Andrews Fire Department 2001 Freightliner fire truck. And the background for this one reads, in 2025, the Town of St. Andrews Fire Department received a new ladder truck and put it into service. This truck was to replace the 2001 Freightliner. Due to its age, the Freightliner is unable to be added to the calculated water pump capacity for the town as part of the fire underwriting related to property insurance. Normally, the truck could be deemed a surplus by the town. However, there may be limited returns on the sale of the truck. The Freightliner is still a good truck in good condition and does not need any major repairs. The department is requesting to continue use of the Freightliner as a support vehicle for water shuttling services and wildfire land support. This truck would be able to continue to respond to calls, but it would mainly be used to shuttle water for the other fire trucks in the fleet. It is recommended by staff that the town retains the 2001 Freightliner fire truck for this purpose. And the action before us is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews retains a 2001 Freightliner truck for St. Andrews Fire Department to be used as a support vehicle for water shuttling services, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. We need a seconder. Councillor Weir. Thank you. We have a nice letter from the fire chief about his recommendations for keeping the fire truck and our CAO comments. So thank you both for doing that for us. And is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye, Your Worship.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. And the last one for you, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you again. And the last one tonight is PWPS 250715. The subject is partnership with Waterfront St. Andrews on road safety barriers for community events. And the background for this one reads, Waterfront St. Andrews, the BIA was successful in application to the downtown BIA fund of the province of New Brunswick for $20,000 support the purchase of safety road barricades for community events. With this increased use of vehicles to cause damage and injury at community events around the world, the BIA is seeking to work with the town to provide additional safety to residents and visitors enjoying events in the community. As such, they are seeking a partnership with the town to match funds for the purchase of water-filled road barricades. These barricades can be connected and put across roads and crosswalks as a preventative measure. Each barricade, when filled with water, would weigh about 1,100 pounds. The town public works would manage the installation and filling of the tanks for special events like Canada Day, Indulge, etc. It is estimated that the town would need approximately 52 barricades to secure the downtown roads and side roads. The cost would be $32,500 plus tax and shipping. If the council is willing to partner on these barricades, staff recommends matching the $20,000 in funding from the tourist accommodation levy. Barricades can be purchased and then be ready to be set in for the next road closure event, which would be the Indulge. So the motion for this one reads that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves the allocation of $20,000 from the tourist accommodation levy fund to support the partnership with Waterfront Street St. Andrews for buying 52 water-filled road barricades for special events, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Seconder, Councillor Gomichel. Further discussion, Council? Not seeing any. All those in favor, aye.
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 Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Economic Development, Business and Cultural Committee, Councillor Weir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Reference number EBC 250702, July 15th, 2025. Negotiation process with the St. Andrews Civic Trust and Town of St. Andrews for the courthouse. Background information: Town of St. Andrews released an expression of interest for nonprofit organizations or charities to propose an operational model of the courthouse and area. The process was concluded in June with 2 submissions. Note that the 2 proponents who submitted EOIs are willing to work together to see the success of the courthouse. In review of the EOI submissions to the town, staff would recommend authorizing the start of negotiations with the St. Andrews Civic Trust on an agreement for the courthouse. Note that this would start the process of the development of an agreement for the transfer of the courthouse, jail, and lands, and a draft agreement will be provided to council to review and consultation before recommendations to approve it. Therefore, the motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews authorizes the Chief Administrative Officer to start the negotiation process with the St. Andrews Civic Trust as it relates to the transfer of the courthouse, jail, and commons. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Seconder, Councillor Heenan. Further discussion, Council? Councillor Blanchard.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the St. Andrews Civic Trust. The presentation that they put forward, I think, was fairly comprehensive and well thought out. This has been a long time coming, so I'm excited to see where we go with it and how it ends up. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I too am excited to see the Civic Trust taking over the courthouse and the jail and the lands. Councillor Heenan.
It will also, Your Worship, as we know, for the taxpayers of the town of St. Andrews, will save us some money because when it's transferred to the trust, they become charities, so they don't have to pay property tax, whereas we, as the town, have been paying property tax, and it's an exorbitant amount. And I'm pleased on both fronts that Civic Trust is taking it, and that we, as residents of the town of St. Andrews, will benefit some of the savings. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Any further discussion? Question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Weir. And we move on to Recreation and Environment Committee, Councillors Gomichelle and Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Worship. My motion tonight is reference RE 250706, dated July 21st, submitted by myself, and it's another resignation. This one is the resignation of Mark Houle from the Trail Advisory Committee. And the brief background reads, in June 2025, the town of St. Andrews received a resignation letter from Mark Houle from the Trail Advisory Committee. Mr. Houle has dedicated his time over the last year and a half to the committee, and we thank him for his services, input, and support. I might add that he also created and maintains the Van Horn Trail website at no charge to the town or the Trail Committee. So thank you, Mr. Houle. The motion reads that the council of the town of St. Andrews accept the resignation of Mark Houle from the Trail Advisory Committee, and I so move.
Seconder, Councillor Bennett. Thank you, Councillor Gomichelle, and thanks, Mr. Houle, for your dedication over this time. We really appreciate it. Any further discussion, Council? Not seeing any. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Aye.
Oh, carried. I forget to pause. All right, next one is, the Assumption Life Grant Funding Opportunity Food Forest. Councillor Blanchard.
Great, thank you, Worship. Apologies, my daughter took the car before the meeting this evening, and I had my backpack along with my laptop in it, so I'm working off a very small phone, but I'll do my best.
Do you want my sheet?
Thanks. I've got it. I'm making it big. Reference number RE 250707. Subject is the Assumption Life Grant Funding Opportunity Food Forest. The Assumption Life Grant MAC Gauguin Champlain Community Fund was created to meaningfully support local initiatives that enhance citizen well-being and strengthen vibrant communities. By focusing on infrastructure, equipment, or essential services, the fund aims to promote physical activity, reinforce social connection, and back impactful projects that align with community priorities. Through this initiative, we are not only offering financial support, but also recognizing and celebrating the commitment of municipalities and RSCs to building healthy, inclusive, and sustainable environments. The total fund available is $20,000 and will be recurring yearly. This is the first year that the funding is being made. The funding is being made to communities, and the deadline for applications is July 30th, 2025. To apply for the funding, a municipal government must provide a motion of support to an organization seeking to apply. The town put out a call to organizations interested in applying for funding. The Food Forest is seeking to apply for up to $5,000 in funding to help kickstart their project. As part of Phase 1 of the Food Forest, they are seeking to install an accessible pathway to reduce barriers to access and to apply for growing supplies, including garden bed materials, soils, seeds, and other materials. Staff would recommend a motion of support for the Food Forest. So the motion that is before council is that the council of the town of St. Andrews supports the Food Forest application for $5,000 in Phase 1 funding for garden supplies and the installation of an accessible pathway to the Assumption Life MAC Gauguin Champlain Community Fund, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Seconder? I'm going to give that to Councillor Hartland. Thank you. Any further discussion? I'd like to thank Rika for all her work and volunteering to help with this food forest. She does a lot of work in the background, so thank you very much. No further discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Harland, sorry, gotta turn my page. Call for the public presentation on the municipal plan. Thank you. Councillor Harland?
Sorry about that. Could somebody
okay.
just tell me what page we're on?
Oh, page 154.
I'm having some technological issues tonight.
Okay. Would you like someone else to read it?
Oh,
No?
yes, please.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Heenan, thank you very much for volunteering.
Councillor Harland, I'll read it for you, okay?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay. It's PCD 250705, submitted by Councillor Harland. Call for public presentation on the municipal plan MP 25-01 and zoning bylaw Z25-01 for the town of St. Andrews. And the background reads, Town of St. Andrews staff and planners are prepared to start municipal plan and zoning bylaw process for council. Please see attached report for details on timelines and next steps. To start the process, council needs to set the public presentation date for the municipal plan. The zoning bylaw under the Community Planning Act does not need a presentation, but will be done with the municipal plan. The action is, Your Worship, that the council of the town of St. Andrews sets the date of Monday, August the 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers for a public presentation on the municipal plan MP 25-01 and zoning bylaw Z25-01 as per regulations under the Community Planning Act.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan.
Councillor Harland, would you like to move that?
I would, thank you, Councillor Heenan, and I so move.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harland. We need a seconder. Councillor Blanchard. Further discussion, council? Yes, Mr. Spear?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just as a note to the public and even to council, this is just the early stages. The idea is to get it out to the public. There'll be other meetings of consultation, and it could still change through the process. That council's had a review, made some changes. There's still some discussion, but there's going to be lots of opportunity between when this is presented and when the third reading is sometime in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. All right. Ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. All right. All right. That brings us to new business.
None.
None? Ooh, cool. And now we're at question period. Anybody in the audience? Oh, okay. Mrs. Kohler, so, sorry.
Oh, just Mr. Kohler, before you start, I forgot to announce earlier, if you have questions online, we should have announced my email,
sorry.
but it's
yeah.
cspear, C-S-P-E-A-R, at townofstandrews.ca, and I'll look for those after the public discusses
That was
to
my
forward it.
Sorry, Mr. Spear, I left that out. I'm new. Okay. Mrs. Kohler?
Hi, these questions are about the GemTech study.
Okay.
I don't know if you could answer this, but one of the questions I wanted to know was this timeline that you had to complete this study typical, or was it short?
It's typical.
It's typical, okay. And did you come to St. Andrews and do any real-world studies or samples of the conditions of the earth?
You want me to speak to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for the question. Yes, Jim Tech visited the site and twice. Our coastal engineer observed the site at low tide and then came back for a total tide cycle where he did some wave modeling with his wave logger in order to study the frequency or to confirm the frequency of the waves that were coming near the structure. So yes, we have collected the material off the bottom, and the rest of the information has been brought in from various databases. Okay?
Thank you.
I have another question too.
Okay.
I didn't see in your report, did the study evaluate the effects of the infill down the shoreline at all? Or just, I heard you say about the impact to the actual infill, but not to the neighboring properties?
So the study area was designed, and the model was run within the study area. It shows that there's no impact within the study area of the currents were low enough that they were not moving or changing around the study area, and so it's concluded that no, there would be no impacts on either side as a result of that. Okay, and I also have my colleague Zignan, who's in Paris. He's joined the Zoom meeting here as well, so it's probably late, but he said that his Wi-Fi is a little bit sketchy, but he may be able to come back and redefine that question. But we discussed that aspect. Was there any impacts beyond the study area? And he could not see where there was any changes to longshore transport or wave conditions as a result of the infill area beyond the study area that we did. Okay?
But there has been infill there in the last few years, and there has been an effect from that infill that I've seen myself. So I
Excuse me.
don't understand the
Could you come to the podium, please, so
Okay.
that they can hear you?
Just point of order too, this isn't really a give and take, you can ask
Yeah,
questions.
you can ask questions.
But if you have further detailed questions, certainly feel free to write in, we can forward it, but it's not meant to be
It's not
Sure.
meant
a
to be
position of going back and forth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will write in my questions and my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Kohler. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, sorry. Stephen, there's somebody in front of you.
Michel Caron here, 116.
Sorry?
Michel Caron is my name, 116 Carlton. I'm a new resident. Thanks to council for all your good help, I'm sure.
Thank you.
We'll get to know each other. But to be short, to be clear and honest, I don't know the wharf background very well. I only saw, I forget your name, but your study,
Mr. Holder.
thank you. It's a very technical study, and it tells me nothing about why it was designed this way. It's a study that demonstrates why it doesn't have impact and in what terms, what technical. So that's fine. We can categorize this as such. The wharf itself has, of course, other repercussions. You have to look at it, not just from the. I wonder, I've been told that there is money coming in that should be used, otherwise you lose the money. Should we use it for that in particular? Do we need to use all that money? If the idea is to just prevent further erosion, what caused this design to reach out like this? I don't see the necessity of going out like that. Maybe there's a logic about the construction, a saving somewhere. I'd like that to be explained to me, but in part. But the real question I'm here asking is, once you do infrastructure in a city like this, it says St. Andrews by the sea, not St. Andrews by the landfill, right? A lot of it is already like this. This is one area where you have a way to plunge a boat, the old ramp there. There's a little bit of a closer contact to the sea. If you project the land and make a steep ridge that's not walkable, not accessible, except for the one place I saw in the plan which has a stair, then you're actually making the sea further away from Water Street, from the mental environment, what the civic idea of St. Andrews would be. And so I'm thinking, maybe there's good reasons for all this. There's this odd shape. I can't explain it for myself, but maybe there's a reason. I'm ready to listen on that. But I think the council must have had an idea of what it would do with that additional space. It's not plantable. You're not making a garden. You're making more public space, but where's the plan for that? Do you have one? I'm simply humbly asking. But I would really think this is important because in my work, international urban planning policy in developing countries, I find that the impacts of infrastructure on cities as they grow, the demand of that kind of growth, expressways, the enlargement of ports, it's part of my subject study. I do that. Those impacts are enormous. They really have a repercussion on the quality of life in the city. And so, therefore, here I think we're affecting the identity of the town. No doubt that it will change something. Maybe you'll say, well, we can put a bigger tent for a bigger farm market or something. But I'm not sold on it. Is there a plan?
Yes.
An urban design idea? Some like conception of, yes?
We've been working on this for 5.5 years.
Okay.
The last 2.5 years, it went out to the public. The public chose this design. We've had a lot of detailed information. I believe it's online, is it not, Mr. Spear, that you can get about the wharf?
I think most of it is, but certainly feel free to pop down to
Feel
Town
free
Hall.
to pop down to the Town
It would
Hall.
take me about half an hour to go through the history of the thing.
I could read
Yeah.
reports too.
Yeah. So we do have those. So you're most welcome to come down to the town office and see those and discuss them.
Thank you.
We're quite willing to share them. We've been doing that with our constituents as it is.
Yes.
And yes, the funding has been given to us or granted to us.
Yes.
And so therefore, this last study, the GemTech study, was to alleviate whether there was silt movement or whatever that we
Right.
needed to do. And this was the last thing that we needed to do for our constituents to decide that we're going to do the wharf or not do the wharf. Because if we leave it any longer, you're right, we're going to lose the funding, which is not a good thing. We need our wharf. It is a basic integral part of the town of St. Andrews.
Okay.
So we are very happy to discuss it with you.
Okay,
We've been very,
If I may,
Sure.
just the essential thing is, why do we need the landfill? Why is it necessary to do the large
Oh,
blob over, as opposed to if you have the money to
we had
redo
7
the
designs,
edge?
and we narrowed it down to 2.
Okay.
And then the people and all of us decided, and Mr. Spear will continue, but we
Yeah.
decided to
Just
choose that one.
briefly, so as the mayor and deputy mayor had mentioned, there were several designs. Really, when we got the funding, it was based actually to extend the rock berm even further, to do it all in rock berm. The community didn't like that, so we had different variations of it. This was kind of a compromise solution, meaning this will allow us hopefully to get the work done in 6 or 7 months or not to lose a summer. Otherwise, we had designs for just that more mimicked what we had, but we could be up to 18 months to 2 years of construction if we tore down everything and rebuilt it. And so the infill can be done over the winter as opposed to concrete, which you need warmer weather. The other problem, and it's legitimate, is the funding was granted to us in 2019, pre-pandemic. And as things got delayed for multiple reasons, the cost of construction went up, but the grant funding didn't go up. They did grant us more money in the end, but not sufficient to meet kind of, if we had all the money in the world, this is the solution people would like. In a perfect world, we could get the solution we like and build a twin wharf to support us in between, or build a second wharf brand new and then tear down this wharf at the end. But again, we're talking years and tens of millions of dollars, which we don't have. So in the end, and we explained all that in our public consultation sessions, that this was kind of what kind of, for the community, was the most economically feasible while minimizing the effects on tourist season. And for the most part, people accepted that. I won't say it was their favorite, but it was the one that met several conditions and aesthetically was only part of the equation.
Not aesthetic. I'm talking
No.
about the quality of the public space and its use. It's not just aesthetic. Just
Yeah, well, no, and
Okay,
just, if I,
Okay.
just one real quick thing. The council actually has in their budget to do a study on the public space. They chose not to do it before because we still don't know. There's lots of ongoing things, so there's $50,000-$60,000 set aside in the budget to figure out. Certainly, there's a need for the public space. It's, the central point of the town. But now it's to figure out what that's going to look like in the long term and the ideal use for it.
Excuse me, there's no plan right now. We are going to be doing it, yes, but because we're holding it for the finish of the wharf. Councillor Blanche,
Money budgeted for a visioning exercise, which is exactly what you're talking about. There's a number of people on council who would like to see that turn into a really usable community space. I think that's what a lot of people would like to see. So that's what the visioning exercise will do, and that's what we budgeted for. I just wanted to add that.
excuse
Okay,
me,
but
Council, Mrs. Kohler, you're out of turn, sorry.
I apologize.
No, it's not you.
I'm just trying to correlate the shape of that extension. First of all, why fill in the first place? What's really not working in the current space? Could be analyzed, discussed. But also the shape that I see on this plan. What kind of public space would you kind of invent in order to fill it to its, most optimal use spatially? Because it's got these, it seems erratic. And so maybe, I don't know, your study did not concern the design,
No.
right?
No.
You're not responsible for the design.
No.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
the
So-
design was decided.
So I question all this,
to-
I'm putting it on the table, we're not gonna
Sure.
resolve things, I'm gonna
No.
let others speak.
And you can come
Thank
into
you.
the town office and see the reasoning behind what we did over
Very
the
well.
period of time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We look forward to working with you.
Me too.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, sorry.
I just got a couple of quick questions.
Sure. Would you announce your name?
Oh,
and
I'm
where-
sorry. I'm Steve Saunders, resident of St. Andrews.
Thank you.
And thank you for the excellent presentation, Mr. Holder. I was really quite impressed. I've got a couple of questions about DHI Mike 21, Danish Hydraulic Institute, which has been used for quite some time now, including organizations like the Army Corps of Engineers uses it. But this is a 2D code, is it not?
That would be a question you'd have to ask my colleague.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it is a commonly used coastal modeling.
Mr. Holder, sorry, just.
You have to come to the microphone, sorry.
Sorry, councilors online can hear you.
Yes.
Excuse me, your question was the 2D code, two-dimensional?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it can be, there is depth involved in it as well, can be integrated into it. I would have to go back and check the specifications exactly for that, and my colleague Zenyan would be able to express that right away. However, it is the commonly used modeling for the Atlantic Canada. Both CBCL and Gymtech and RPC use it, and have used it, or not RPC, but National Research Council used the DHI model to model the different gullies and structures around the provinces and the Atlantic Canada and across the country. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Holder.
Okay, there was another question. When you were working on your hydrodynamic model, which was the wave height one, you said you calibrated it. And was it, someone came down and measured some wave action? That was your calibration?
The calibration, or my colleague Zinion had come in and monitored the wave logger in order to confirm the frequency of the waves that are coming in on that structure. The calculation of the wave height is part of the model, and it is calculated from the onshore winds, local winds, and he felt that there was because of the configuration of the harbor that there would be no offshore wave coming into the harbor because of the sandbars and the configuration of the Navy Island. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Got
Holder.
another one before you go. You talked about sediment transport, and did someone come down and take some sediment samples?
Yep. Excuse me. There are 4 samples taken inside the on the sea bottom floor. In those locations, I'm pointing to 1, 2, 3, 4 sediment locations on either side of the wharf, 2 on either side. He noticed that at low tide, only small patches of sand near the shoreline area. Other areas are gravel. I'm losing my voice. Rock bed and seaweed. Sand patches are only a small part of the shoreline area.
Okay.
And those were sent to the Gymtech lab for the grain size analysis, and it is a fine sand that he sent to the Gymtech lab, and it comes out as a fine sand.
So the particles that were seeded into that model were based on that distribution, is that correct?
So the particles that were put into this distribution were these size of sands.
Okay.
However, there's only patches of sands. However, he put the thickness of the sand into the model in order to create sand for it to disperse.
Okay.
But where there's no sand, then the dispersal sand shouldn't exist because there's no sand to disperse. So he modeled sand, but there's no sand there, just patches.
Does DHI Mike 21, does it model floating debris?
I'm not sure. I have not seen that being modeled before in my experience.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Thank you, Mr. Holder. Okay. Next.
I'm Alistair Fox. I'm resident of St. Andrews. I question the sand when you look over at the wharf. It's mud. There's a lot of mud there. Admittedly, there are the solid rock, but there is a lot of silting up. The drying out grid there, if you look down at that, it's almost flush with particulate that's washed in there. That has formed over the last 8-10 years. It has really built up. And so what I can see happening is you're getting more sand coming around that point, covering up the mud that is there, that is a whole ecological system in its own. I live in the end of Augusta Street, and 15 years ago, you needed rubber boots when you went down to the water line. Thick, thick mud. Now that is all sand because of the washout from the storm sewers that have been put in at the end of Augusta Street. And so again, it's smothered out all the microbes and all the small creatures that live in the mud. And I just see the same thing happening again in that area, just on the south side of the wharf.
Thank you. You have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Chris Kohler, and a couple of questions. I don't know if I can be clear. The first one is kind of a government question. I'm wondering if the Gymtech survey goes through federal or provincial government procedures. Now, maybe I'll just start with that, and you and I can bicker with that a little bit, see how that works. I don't know how that Like monitoring through?
Government procedures, or, so I don't think there'd be any difference between what's private and what's government on a modeling system, or a modeling, numeric modeling program.
So is it monitored, the results, does it have to be funneled through a provincial government monitoring system, or?
Oh, no. This, our study has been delivered to the town of St. Andrews, and it's not taken, and is not passed through any government departments.
Yeah, okay. And another question would be, Dr. Fred Page, does that name ring a bell?
Dr. Fred Page?
Yes. Okay, Dr. Fred Page works in St. Andrews at the Fisheries Research Board.
Yep.
He's studies currents and has been doing studies probably since around 1985, early before, so. I worked for one summer with him. He had drones and it was more for the aquaculture business. They wanted to know circulations and currents and so on. So I'm just wondering if he was consulted or any of his work is referenced in the sediment or current surveys.
I don't believe so. It's not on the. I don't see his name on the references here. I would imagine Mr. Page has lots of experience on modeling and tides and currents and things like that here. In this particular case, we have actually taken part of the model was part of Jimtech's model had been put together for the BIO station. We were lucky enough to be able to do the modeling of that structure, redesign of that structure as well.
I'm
sorry, not BIO, Bedford, or not Bedford, St. Andrews, SABS, yeah, my acronyms.
SABS is where Fred works.
Yeah. So we had part of the model was put together for the modeling of the SABS, and then the same model has been extended and concentrated around the Market Wharf as well.
Yeah, for the SABS Wharf, you mean?
Well, originally for the SABS.
Yeah.
And so it's a model of the bay had been put together for SABS, and so now the focus has been moved from SABS down to the Market Wharf. And as I mentioned, the mesh has been focused around that particular area so that it can pick up the data from the currents and the tides and the wind and things like that. So there's been a modeling, numeric modeling has been around for a number of years. In the 1985s, there would have been, it would have started to move towards a more computer digital type output. Before 1985, there was a lot of hands-on, actual physical models of areas that had to be completed. If you wanted to actually look at sand movement and disbursement in a bay like this, you may build a large tub and fill it full of sand and introduce waves, and that would be the physical model of some of the places in New Brunswick, and those were done.
Yeah, they do plenty of computer modeling along with the physical drones that they use for the current studies.
Yeah,
That's just the current, not the sediment.
So then there's there's always the introduction of the physical throw the logger in the water and watch it move and measure it and things like that. Yeah. With the numeric models, we have access to not only 1 or 2 or 3 tide cycles that can occur while you're doing the monitoring, but we can actually take the 50 and 65 years worth of wind and tide and all the other things that have happened in the past, plus all the forecasted tidal rises that are going to have, and to actually calculate those.
Yeah. Anyway,
the current, the study of the current and the waves and the long-shore transports and things like that are all based on those stronger winds and higher tides and more extreme situations. and the results here are very, very conservative. So they use the extreme high tides and the winds to make the calculations.
I personally saw two meter waves in the two storms that came by a couple of years ago. Mind you, that was on the outside of the bar, which you said was
No, that's fair, because the outside bar protects, or the two sandbars both protect the inside of the harbor.
Yeah, and the north.
The offshore waves cannot come in.
Anyway, so
Yep.
probably carrying on a little too far here. Thank you. You answered whether Dr. Page had been consulted, and the answer was no. I did have a concern too about the sand versus the silt, because as has been mentioned here, I've played on the beach for my lifetime, and it's not really that sandy. To me, it's more silty, and the silt should be modeled, not the sand. But I don't know the size. We will be able to see the data results on sizes of particles that were modeled, and also the size of particles that were collected.
The distribution of the report would be the responsibility of the town.
Will we be able to see the original data?
Mr. Spear, will that be online?
It's whatever's included in the GemTech report, so we can distribute the report once the engineers and councils are happy with it, and I think, sooner rather than later. I think the tables include data. I don't imagine they include the actual lab reports that were submitted. There you go.
Yeah.
So whatever's there, you can, if council's okay with it, you can have. It was considered a draft report before Mr. Holder came tonight, so maybe he'll look at it tomorrow and submit his final report. and then
We'll
can just-
have Zignon at least take a look at it before we give a submission to it.
Okay.
Even though he's away, but he'll be able to help us out.
Thank you, Mr. Holder, for
Could I have
answering all the
One
questions.
more comment, just maybe to lighten it a little bit.
A
There's
question?
A comment?
A question? It's question period, not a comment period, sorry.
It's just that there's some new research where the great white sharks are being studied, and they're looking for places where they're copulating. And the speculation is that they get tied together and they copulate, and they twirl down into the water and land on the sandy bottoms or the mud bottoms. And maybe we could see that in Passamaquoddy Bay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kohler. And thank you, Mr. Holder, for answering those questions. Any further questions? Are there any online, Mr. Spear?
Nothing by email, but I'll ask. There's two users that have stayed patiently on the meeting. Can you raise your hand if you want to address council? One last call for the two users that are been attending the meeting virtually. If you have a question, please raise your virtual hand at the bottom of the screen. And again, people can send questions after the fact, and staff and the mayor will address them even after. Apparently not, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. So that ends question period. The next thing is councillor and deputy mayor's comments.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Your name?
This one's really starting to boil now, isn't it? My question is, I didn't really hear much about this. I never received anything in the mail about this wharf thing, and I guess we got to this point. Now, you mentioned that you have
Excuse me, could we have your name and where you live?
Oh, my name's Chris. I live in St. Andrews.
Okay,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm not very...
It's okay.
Anyhow, this title survey sounded a little light to me. I don't know about that one, but that's all I got to say about that one. So there was two options. What was the second option other than the rock infill?
There were 7 options.
No,
at the
you
beginning,
got down
but the
to
last
2.
The last 2.
What was the other one?
It was
Complete cement.
Cement.
Oh, steel and cement.
There's steel and cement. There's also, there's steel and cement. There was this hybrid option we're calling, complete rock infill, and we looked at a wooden wharf as well.
So what is your budget for this rock infill?
The total combined budget is going to be is around $8 million on
$8
right
million.
now. But again, as it was priced out, that's one of the cheaper options.
The rock.
the rock in the fastest.
Yeah, it's not very aesthetically pleasing, is it, when you look at it, really? You're out there in a boat, I mean, it doesn't look very well. This is a historic town, and, you know, they built it with steel and wood, and they put a few small rocks there. Now we want to take and put a whole lot of big rocks. You know, really, is that the way to go? Once you start it, there's no changing it. Looks like it'd be quite a scar on the town, being a little tourist town and a historical town. I mean, this isn't talking about erosion. We're talking about putting a wharf there.
Yes.
And to put something like that there, the rock infill, I mean, doesn't look like it'd be aesthetically pleasing to the town, right? That's all I have to say about that. And I gotta go pee.
Thank you. It's not our first kick at this can. We've been 5.5 years, 2.5 years with the last look-see at the wharf. So this GemTech study was our last
Piece of the puzzle.
Piece of the puzzle that council asked for the GemTech to alleviate whatever concerns we had about the infiltration. So this has been done. Now we will discuss it. And on the 29th, that will be the wharf discussion. Can come back with that again.
And that's just to send it to tender. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a question once the tender comes in, what the values will be, honestly. So it will be that, so the 29th will be to say, yes, we want to proceed, but then we won't know till, you know, sometime late August, early September, the financial viability of being able to continue.
Whether or not we'll be able to continue. All right. Thank you very much for all of that. Now we're on to councillors and deputy mayor comments. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I would like to thank Mr. Holder for a very concise report. It was easily, I've had 4 comments from the audience that said it was the first time they ever had a report that was very concise and well done. So I appreciate that very much. I would like to say a special thank you to Mr. Paul Knopper for all the years that he has given to this town. He has been an asset to us all, especially me. I'm selfish. I particularly had to go to Paul for a lot of things, and he was always ready for me. The other thank you goes to the town personnel at Canada Day for the exceptional job that they did in a rather hard day. I would just like to say a big thank you for all their dedication and their work. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Blanchard.
Well, just since Councillor Heenan mentioned town staff, I'd want to mention the volunteers, the volunteer fire department, for the work that they do on Canada Day as well. I know they didn't get to the fireworks, but I know that's been postponed till New Brunswick Day weekend, so I want to thank to them as well. Councillor Neal's not here to do it, so I figure somebody better do it.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Anyone else? Well, I'd like to thank Canada Day Committee, the Recreational Department especially, that with Mervyn, because they did a lot more activities than we've normally had. The amount of people that went through our town were unbelievable. I couldn't make the cupcake dispersion because I couldn't get from the arena down to the town office. It just was impossible to get through the crowd. So I'd like to thank, and you know, we're so fortunate to have such a committee, because the next day you'd never know we had the Canada Day celebration. It was all cleaned up. Our boys are very good. And again, Mr. Knopper, we're going to miss you. I appreciate all your input and all your help and all the things that I did, especially on Indigenous things that I did for the town, or we did for the town, and we'll continue to do even without you, but it was nice having you there as an organizer. So thank you again. The other thing I'd like to suggest is bags for the food bank. Don't forget me. We can still use them. There are a lot of needy people out there still, and it's easier to carry a bag than to carry a box. Bicycles. I know, Councillor Gomichelle, you like to go up the street the wrong way. You are part of the rules of the road, and you should follow the traffic. Everybody else should do it as well, from big kids to
If
old
you'd slow
kids.
down a little bit, Deputy Mayor.
Slow down. You should slow down too, but I'm just saying
There's
that
a new speed
people are
limit. I'm
doing
not
it
sure if
the
you're
wrong
aware.
way.
It's 40 kilometers an hour.
I know. Is that on a bicycle?
Touche, touche.
You know, but I would like to see people following the traffic, because if you are a bicycle, a scooter, whatever you are to go, whatever
Or a
way you're
speeding
supposed to
car.
Yes, you have a speeding car too. So, but it needs to be that we follow the direction of the one-way traffic. Get off your bicycle and walk for the couple of blocks, or go up Queen Street and come back down on Water Street. Dogs, please pick up the poop from the dogs, especially on the beach. I mean, we're talking about environment, and we like to keep our beaches clean as well. So, but please, if you have a dog, your responsibility is for picking up the poop. So, thank you very much. And I guess that's it for today. We have to go into closed session, Mr. Spear. So at 8:33, gotta put my glasses on to read this. Council moves into closed session per the Local Governance Act, Section 68(1)C, information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract. So, do I have a mover? Councillor Blanchard, seconder, Councillor Heenan. We'll stop for a few minutes while everybody disperses, and then we'll continue. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate everything and everyone.